All right. Well, good morning or good evening, wherever you're at in the day. Welcome back to another episode of the Chamber Podcast. My name is Rob Johnson, and joining me, actually from the Brighton studio, I'm actually in our Louisville speakeasy this week, is Danielle Mauter. Danielle, welcome.
Thanks for having me.
Absolutely. So, Danielle, you serve as the Chief Marketing and Communication Officer. So, talk to me a little bit about your role with the Metro Parks. Talk to me a little bit about what a day in the life is like for you, for our listeners.
So basically at the Metro Parks, I get the fun job of sharing all that the Metro Parks have to offer with all of the visitors that we see or potential visitors that we want to see. So I get to work in social media, the website, all of our print brochures and material, basically all that outwardly facing communication material flows through my department. So I've got a really great office. The Metro Parks are no better office, and we get to do some really fun things.
Well, I imagine it's one of those jobs where, like, if you want a quick change of scenery, you have a couple dozen different options to go and work from. So how did you get involved in that line of work?
I have been in the line of Parks and Recreation for going on about 6 or 7 years now, if I count back. So I've always been in marketing, and I happened to come across a job posting at a different park system. It hasn't been the Metro Parks the whole time, about that time ago, and fell in love with it. And I just kind of stuck with Parks and Rec and sharing that message of parks and the benefits of parks, and found myself coming into this role about 3 years ago.
All right. How important was it for you in your current role to watch the television show Parks and Rec?
Well, it wasn't a requirement of the job description, but I am a fan.
Okay. You almost have to be, right? Like, if you at least have to have awareness of it, right?
You do. There's some similarities. There's clearly some differences in any kind of those TV shows, but if you work in that field, you do get a little bit of entertainment about those.
That's cool. So I know summer, obviously, the parks are much more, flooded with people, out and about, biking, kayaking. So what are some events coming up on the docket that people can look forward to across the Metro Parks?
So the Metro Parks, we cover a really wide range of Southeast Michigan. So there is something for everybody to do, no matter where they're coming from. Right now, we're ramping up for the fireworks shows that are this weekend, depending on when you're listening. So those are right around the 4th of July, and those take place in 4 Metro Parks across the system. But July and August are really busy for just general park activities. Things like the pools and the splash pads are always really busy, as our weather is really warm this year. But also summer concert series and movies in the parks. And right down the road at Kensington Metro Park is the Michigan Philharmonic concert on July 9th. So there is a whole summer full of activities and events for you to do with your family, or just by yourself, or just come out to the parks in general. There's no shortage of things to do.
Yeah. So being that you've been associated with Metro Parks over the last 6-7 years, what are some of your favorite things that take place over the summer that you look forward to every year?
So I am not a crowd person, so I tend to not be a fan of the fireworks shows, but I know that that's a visitor favorite. So I really enjoy walking the nature trails in the summer. You get a nice, quiet reflection period through natural surface trails, and you get to see wildlife and all those different things. But at the same time, I do also really like taking a visit down to Turtle Cove at Lower Huron Metro Park, where you can slip down the water slide, stand under the dump bucket, and just have that really Michigan quintessential experience at a water park. So it depends on the day of the week, I guess.
Yeah, and what's interesting is in recent memory, and I don't have all the facts and data to back this up, but this seems like one of the best summers we've had in recent memory in terms of just weather and just how nice and warm it is.
Yes, it seems to have gotten much warmer, much faster than we would in a typical summer. And the Metro Parks have seen, we've had great attendance all summer long since Memorial Day weekend. The parks are busy almost every day of the week, which is great for most people, not for some others. But the pandemic, that's kind of been the trend we've seen is people are rediscovering the parks and getting outdoors and having those experiences with each other.
Excellent. So So what is the park life? So obviously we get through the summer, we go into the fall, in the winter. So are a lot of people that I've just kind of met in the Brighton area, they seem to frequent the parks a lot in the summer. And then what does the docket look like as it starts to get colder and goes into the winter season?
Yeah, so a lot of people think that the parks shut down in the winter, but that's definitely not the case. So as we transition out of summer into fall and the leaves start changing color, that's actually a really great time to spend some time out on the trails or even still on the river paddling. It gives you a different perspective on taking in those fall colors if you're doing it not from your vehicle, but from a trail. But then as we flow into winter as well, if we get snow, sledding is really big in the metro parks. You'll find some of the best sledding hills, in our opinion, at Kensington Metro Park. Nice tall hills, and there's a variety of difficulty levels. So from your young, non-experienced sledder down up to adult. But also cross-country skiing is a big activity in the metro parks in the winter. And right out at Huron Meadows, really close to Brighton, there is a trail where we actually make man-made snow. So even if we don't get the natural snow, you can still cross-country ski as long as it's cold. So if we get 50-degree days, that's a bit of a challenge. But if it's cold, you can still cross-country ski without natural snow.
That's awesome. I think it's super important for people to be aware that not only are the parks open all year round, but also the website is kept up to date exceptionally well. There's a ton of great information on there. And if you happen to be listening, whether it's on Apple, Spotify, wherever you're at, check out the show notes. The link for the website is in there. You can check out the parks that are included in that Metro Park. We'll call it a bundle, and all of the links for the events and everything that's taking place, especially as the parks are more frequented in the summer. But Danielle, I want to dive a little bit more into your background and talk about kind of what drove you to being in the Parks and Rec field, and then also what it looked like to move up and now be in charge of the marketing and comms for all the parks.
Sure. So my background, I started in event marketing. Actually, when I first started out, I did a little bit of market research in some automotive industries. Then I went into event marketing, thought that's what I wanted to do. But I've always been really involved in the outdoors, big into camping, fishing growing up, and I guess still, but always outdoors, always doing something outdoors. So when I saw a posting for a Parks and Rec position, actually, I started at Genesee County Parks. It was really interesting to me that you could do marketing. I actually wasn't aware at the time within a park system. It wasn't something that you learned about in college or in school or even thought about in the field of marketing, as that being somewhere you could go. And when I stepped in the door at Genesee County Parks and found that this experience was a lot different than being in the automotive industry and some of the more technical marketing fields, I was able to connect those interests with the outdoors to bringing memories to the community and sharing that message. And it was just really exciting to be able to do that every day. It doesn't feel as much like work that way. So transitioning into my position at the Metro Parks, it's a little bit different than where I came from. Much bigger park system, much larger team, but the impact is greater too. And so I've had the opportunity to work with lots of partners and lots of different projects and things that I would have never gotten to do if I was, doing automotive marketing or something else that I started out doing. So it's been a really great experience. But also still really connects to me personally with those interests in the outdoors and bringing those memories and sharing that experience with other people as well.
That's really cool. Well, it's really nice when you see people kind of in the role that they truly enjoy. And obviously, like, everything has a certain degree of work to it, but that makes it a lot nicer when you actually enjoy, what it is that you do. And it sounds like you're exactly where you ought to be.
Yes, I'm very lucky in that way that I've made it here and enjoy that experience.
That's excellent. So one of the recurring segments we have on this show is I ask all of the members of the chamber the same 3 questions typically. So we're gonna move over to that. So question number 1 is, if you were to give some advice to somebody that was looking at going into Parks and Rec as a career, what's a couple of tips you might give somebody who's at the beginning of that adventure, retrospectively, now that you've been in it for some time?
I would say that probably the best piece of advice is to do some volunteer work in parks. All park systems everywhere have volunteer opportunities. They have the ability for you to actually go and see it and experience it and do it. Yes, you're a volunteer, but you get to see some of the behind the scenes stuff. And that's a really great opportunity for people to kind of feel out if it's for them or not. It is a different kind of work environment. We work weekends and holidays, particularly in the summer, because that's when people are in parks. So it's an adjustment if you're used to more corporate 9 to 5. So I would say doing some of that research and getting some of that volunteer experience or some job shadows, if you can, would probably be my number one.
That's good advice. Question 2. So taking the work hat off and the fun hat on, what are some of your favorite hobbies or some things that you do to relax and unwind?
So I kind of started already talking about that. Me and my family are big outdoors people. So we enjoy actually off-roading, which you can't do in the Metro Parks. There is no off-road trails there, but we have side-by-sides, and we enjoy going up north on the off-road trails, fishing, paddling, pretty much anything that you do outdoors. And I also really enjoy taking my camera everywhere I go. So photography is a piece of all of that as well.
That's awesome. Well, can't people just make their own off-road trails at the Metro Parks? Don't you guys have like a package for that?
No, you can't do that. You'll get some tickets and some fines for that.
This is more revenue. That's what I hear. Awesome. All right. And question 3, Danielle, is what is currently, or even from some time back, what is your favorite piece of technology?
I don't know if I can pick one favorite.
Yeah.
But I feel like everybody says their smartphone, but everything is
That is
tied.
the most popular. Yeah, that is the most popular answer.
So I would say that I probably couldn't live without my smartphone, but if I had to pick a second, I think my favorite piece to use is my camera, which some people will say, well, that's not technology, but it's a digital camera, so it counts.
Oh, it's absolutely technology. Like the sensors, the lenses, everything that goes into, capturing that perfect shot. That's absolutely technology. And anyone says it's not is just wrong. So I like that. That's a good answer. So I guess as we look up, 4th of July is coming up. That's going to be extremely busy. And then, as we get into, the kind of the dog months of summer, late July, August, I think for me, the biggest, attraction for the parks is really just awareness, like what's going on, because people, I think, are just wholly unaware sometimes of what's happening in the parks, and the more that they know, the better. And that's why I'm glad you're on this show. We can distill that out to, more people through the chamber, obviously, but the more we can do in terms of, educating people on, staying consistent with, what's happening in the parks, I think the better it will be overall. So what are a couple of pieces of advice that you have for people that want to stay plugged into what's going on at the Metro Parks?
Yeah, we have several options for that. The best you already mentioned is the website. So that's always a great place to start. We have a page of closures. So if you're worried about if the beach is going to be open or closed the day you're looking to come, or the splash pad, or any of our facilities, you can check the website before your visit and make sure that everything you're looking to visit is actually open. But the Metro Parks, much the same as every other business, has had hiring struggles this summer. So in the case of our summer popular water facilities, if we have a shortage of lifeguards, we might have altered hours on certain days of the week for those types of facilities. So checking the website is always a really great place to start. On the website is the option to sign up for our email blasts. I would say that is my second recommendation. We send out regular emails about upcoming events and programs, as well as monthly newsletters about projects and just general things going on, large efforts in the Metro Parks, and that's a really great way to stay plugged in as well. And of course, social media. We are active on social media. We haven't made it into TikTok yet, but Facebook, Instagram, Twitter, YouTube, you can follow and subscribe in all of those places and stay plugged into the Metro Parks as well.
I love it. And we'll make sure that all of our listeners have links to all of those options so they can stay plugged in. Newsletter sounds like where I'll be signing up for immediately after this. So I'm in for that. Danielle, anything else before we wrap up today?
Just that as the Metro Parks ramp up even more for summer, I know we're already kind of into summer, but we're really excited to see everybody out and see those smiling faces. And for anybody that's looking for things to do, we really recommend checking out our website, checking out our calendar, and we'll see you out there.
Excellent. Well, Danielle, thank you so much for your time today. I really appreciate it.
No problem. Thanks for having me today.
Excellent. All right, friends. Well, that's going to wrap up this week's episode of the Chamber Podcast. I appreciate all of you listening. Please make sure to check out the show notes for all of the links for the Metro Parks, and be sure to sign up for the newsletter, check out their social media, and get out there and get involved in what's going on in some of the most beautiful parks, not just in Michigan, but I would say in the country. So have a great week, everyone. Take care.